Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? Welcome back to the official Nick Walsh TV channel. We're live with another 50K Spin and Go Challenge stream. So if you guys had not... Oh, sorry, one sec, guys. Something's still playing music here. That's what it is. If you guys had not heard the updates or seen the updates on Discord, let me give you a little snapshot as to where we are so far, because we are coming to the end of our challenge. We're coming to the end of the 5,000 games that we've set out for ourselves to play. And we're having a little bit of a late game comeback, if you can call it that. Let's take a look at the graph over here. And here we go. Click. All right, so one second. Sorry, chat. So as you can see, we are doing much, much better. So this is the beginning of the challenge. This is when they made the change from regular Spin and Goes to merge between Spin and Goes and Spin and Go Flash. It took us some time to get used to the new format. Spin and Goes aren't different in the sense that there was a different strategy to be played. There was just a higher and different frequency of different stack depths, and most of it was also significantly shorter than we're used to playing. So it's taken us some time to improve, but over time, our results have gone parabolic. So we were winning some chips here, not winning enough, and then we improved, and we've improved, and we've improved. And you can see it's not just going up gradually, it's actually curving in an upward sort of graceful parabolic movement, which is great because that means that the study that we're doing and the time that we're putting in away from the tables is making us improve. There's obviously a lot of variance associated with this as well. There are going to be segments in here that are flatline where we've probably played very well, but we were just running into lots of big hands, which happens quite a lot in the new format. You guys can see that we ended up running very, very, very far below expectations. So this orange line here, or yellow or whatever color you see to your eyes, this is our chips EV, and this is the actual number of chips won. So we're still significantly under EV, guys. We're still probably about, I want to say 30 buy-ins under expectation or something like that. Again, that's a little bit of a misnomer because you can't calculate it quite the same as you would if you were playing regular sit and goes. However, we have done a lot of comeback here. So we actually have started winning some chips. Our green line is somewhat catching up with our yellow line. At one point, we were something around 100 buy-ins under expectation, and we were more than 100 buy-ins down in actual dollars won. So we're doing a lot of things that are right. We just need volume to try and build up out of this and actually, make it work for us. With the increased chip EV that we found now in our later stages, the variance will get somewhat flatter. We should theoretically experience shorter downswings or fewer downswings. And then we should also theoretically be getting to the point where we're going to start winning a few dollars in the long run. This chip graph is only an indication of our chips, of course. This is not an indication of overall profitability. If we take a look at the actual dollars and cents, you guys can see that we are down about $900 overall. So 90 buy-ins below break even before rakeback. That's an important note. Our overall chip EV is 16. However, our chip EV for the last 3,500 games is actually 20, which is much more respectable and much more in line with where I would like to theoretically live or potentially surpass. Team Boss, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate you guys. Welcome back. Shout out to Team Boss, by the way. They're doing a lot of good work if you haven't checked out their channel. And of course, we've been partnered with them for ages. We've actually got a segment in our Discord channel if you guys want to go give them a look. I'm pretty sure we have our own little thing there for them. We do indeed. TBP spins. Go and check them out. Anyway, yes. Also, shout out to Team Boss because a lot of their tools have assisted me in improving my game, which has been important for this challenge, of course. So you guys can see here the overall. This is the entire challenge. 4,343. We want to play 5,000 spins. That was the target we set ourselves before the end of the year. So we're well on track. I don't see us ever missing the 5K target. And in fact, if anything, I kind of want to play through until we get to the point where our chips EV is at least equivalent with our chips 1R is equivalent with our chips EV. So just so we can have a better idea about what it's supposed to look like, if that's the right way to put it, overall. With a minus $900 won, we are in fact in profit, guys. Yes, we are. So I don't have the number in front of me, but we are probably winning just over $100, 100, maybe like $200 with bonuses. Which is like, kind of okay. Like, that's not obviously what we're looking for. I guess the important thing to take away from this is we've ultimately ended up right now after a relatively short span of spinning goes, especially given the fact now that they're sort of mostly flash. The takeaway from this is quite interesting because as you'll see in the next update that I'm going to do on social media, we are performing much better in the average spin and go. So we're getting to the point now where we should be close to a break-even pre-rakeback chip EV. Okay, close. Not exactly, but close. Close enough. Which means that after we've put in a bunch of volume and we're getting these rewards that we should be unlocking, we should have a very reasonably positive expectation with rakeback. Because rakeback is linear. That means that once we get to break-even, every time we put chips in over a stretch of hands in a break-even fashion, the actual rakeback should actually support us for a few percent, right? What's interesting about this challenge, and I've spoken about this before, is because we are very good at playing spinning goes, traditional spinning goes, that is putting us in a lot of very good situations in this challenge, despite the challenge itself being very difficult because of the fact we're playing way more flash. This massive downswing that we've had here, This is a downswing of like 100 buy-ins in EV. It was almost like 160 buy-ins in actual buy-ins. If we were playing reg speed spinning goes, and if you were to simulate the likelihood of us having a greater than 100 buy-in downswing with our chip EV in those games, you're only ever going to get a 100 buy-in downswing like once in a very, very, very rare amount of time. Like it's just not something that happens often. When you were playing reg speeds, people said that, often the worst that they would experience is 100 at a time, and that was very rare. But what's very interesting about this challenge as we're going through is Our performance in the deeper stacked games, which are the higher multipliers that are literally worth more, is very, very, very good. Probably, possibly even slightly above what's possible in terms of, so it's a relatively small sample, a very small sample, in fact. But the point is that I feel like we're encountering a lot of players who are very good at playing Flash, but not necessarily as good at playing the deep variety. And therefore, our results in the games that are worth more money is actually very good, which means that when our actual chip results align with our EV results, so when this catches up with this, we shouldn't just be break even plus good rake back, which is a reasonable amount of ROI for hyper formats, especially as hyper as these are, right? We're actually going to end up being break even plus greater performance in larger multipliers plus rake back. And so our overall ROI cannot be cooked in as clearly as it once was when we were playing reg speeds. Because reg speeds were always the same game. It was always the same number of chips. It was always the same clocks. And, obviously, your chip graph couldn't account for the fact that you ran bad when you had 100x or a 50x or whatever. But that's not what we're looking at here. We're not looking at dollar results here. We're looking at chip EV. But it's also interesting to note that the most valuable games that we play are games that we seem to have a considerable additional edge in. And so for that reason, we've outperformed what I thought would be possible in those games, which means that by the time this green line catches up with the yellow line, we probably should have a greater than break-even plus rake-back ROI. Does that make sense? Because the number of games that are of a greater value that we've won is unusually high. And I think also now that our average game in the more flash variety is getting better and we're clearly seeing those results improving, I think that what we're ultimately going to see is a very stable EV ROI in the long run, bolstered by the fact that we're going to have above average results in larger multipliers, bolstered by the fact that we're now going to be getting close to 30% rake back when we clear our next couple chests. And obviously this is at the tens, right? In the future, if we were to take this challenge to the next stage, as soon as we start playing $25 games or $50 games or $100 games, the games will be tougher. Our chip EV will diminish, absolutely, without question, because we're going to be playing an average of much better players. However, we will also get ourselves into the highest possible rakeback tier very quickly, right? If we were to play, I don't know, let's say that we were going to play, let's say that we played 5,000 games at the 50s instead, right? We went from 10s to 50s. I'm not saying we're going to do that. That means we would be playing $250,000 in games, like the equivalent of $250K in buy-ins. Think about that, guys. Think about that, right? And now if we go double check here, I don't want to get this wrong just because what? Is it this one? Yeah, this is this one. All right, so let me just double check the rake at the 50s. I'm pretty sure it's 5%. Okay, it's 6% at the 50s, okay? So that means we would be raking 0.06. That means we'd be raking about 15K, which means we would pretty easily be in, the higher, much higher reward category, which again sounds like a win. Obviously, if our chip EV takes enough of a decline overall, then the actual additional EV that we get or additional ROI that we get from the rake back is just going to compensate for that. So there's a fine line to be walked here, guys. I'm not saying that this just immediately scales because it doesn't. That's the whole point. That's what I'm discussing now. However, what I would like to focus on is just finishing super strong in this challenge. I would love for our final overall challenge chip EV to more closely reflect our current and more reasonable chip EV, which is actually closer to 19 or 20 chips per game. in an ideal world, we'd finish up in a way where our chips EV would be actually break even and beyond. But I've been told by a lot of people it's just not possible. Stop. Like that's not going to happen. I don't really believe in impossible at the $10 stakes. I think it's possible at the $10 stakes personally. However, we're just going to have to play through the variance, play through the volume, and see how we get on. It is somewhat reassuring, obviously, to know that despite being 90 buy-ins below break-even pre-rakeback, we are still winning post-rakeback, right? That goes to show you how much the rewards are going to make a big difference when you're grinding this format, which has always kind of been the case with any sort of hyper format. Often playing hypers, one of the big benefits was knowing that you're going to generate a lot of rewards. That's not new. That's not something that's changed because of the new format. But because the edges have become much smaller, but the games have become much more rapid, we can anticipate that rewards are going to be an upside to the entire equation, right? So in any case, we are in profit right now, guys. And when you see how far below EV we are, we shouldn't be, right? Which is great. When the EV catches up, we're going to be very considerably in profit, and I think it will be greater and a greater profit than would be forecast by our pure chip EV because of our performance in the large multipliers. But we got to get through it. A little bit of run good at the end of 5K games would be great. We're definitely going to finish this before Christmas. If we have to do a couple days of streaming, mid December to finish it up, that's fine. I don't anticipate that's going to be a massive struggle. Um, Although there is going to be a lot of travel between now and the end of the year. We got Prague and stuff. So anyway, let's just play some poker. Let's one table again. We're going to do what we usually do. We are going to play some poker. We're going to talk some strategy. If we have any hands that we want to write down, or mark for review, we're going to write them down. We're going to do a study session at the end. I do have to cut off pretty early today, though, guys, because we have a Christmas tree coming. It was supposed to arrive earlier, but now it's coming after 5, which is kind of annoying. Hello, everybody in the chat, by the way. P. Salket, hello. Hello, Raksha. Hello, Joni. Hello, OAP. What's up? Good to see you. Parabolic is a lovely word, Team Boss. Yes. I don't know how much more parabolic it can go from here. I think probably we've seen the parabola at this point. That's about as much parabola as we're going to get. But if we could keep it in that way, that'd be great. What's up, Wee? Good to see you. Hello, Croaks. Hello, Promptu. Hello, Pash. You didn't miss the spins. Sorry, I was very I was laying it on thick there. But I like to discuss these things with you guys. Stream is over. GG. Promptu, stop it. Yeah, perfect timing. Hello, John Edwards. Check my WhatsApp. Okay, what did I miss? Oh, for fuck. All right, sorry. All right, the tree man literally just arrived, for fuck's sake. Uh, fuck. All right, the tree man has literally just arrived, despite me moving my entire fucking morning around to accommodate. All right, one sec, guys. All right, sorry, guys. All right, one moment, guys. Sorry, I gotta go let this guy in. Yeah, okay. Confirmed life tilt already. I'm so glad that I moved everything around to accommodate for this. What's up, Susan? Good to see you, buddy. Yo, Zhao Zero, what's up? What's up? More rake is good, Joshy. That's it. You got it, man. You got it. All right, let me just finish this game if I can. This is not how I'd usually play a 5-7, but I don't really know what to do now. I'd like to give myself some semblance of equity here before we have to dash again because I don't know what the fuck's going on. Getting a walk AFK is lovely, yeah. Can we still pull this one off, guys? How much did I miss, huh? Oh, God, I hate this so much. There's nothing more tilting than being in the middle of a game. I'm in the middle of a challenge. Every chip counts right now. I'm literally in the middle of a challenge where every fucking chip counts. And I'm getting cooked here. And all right, well, I guess I've got to wait for this tree guy now, guys. Sorry, 1 second. Let me figure this out. We still managed to pull off a win, but we missed a couple spots anyway. All right, so look, here's the deal. Here's the deal, guys. Thank you very much for the new follow. Sorry about this, guys. All right, 1 sec, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. Problem resolved. We won our first game. Let's keep going. Crew Pele says I didn't follow just for him to walk away. I'm sorry, mates. That was unexpected. I've literally this entire morning, I've set aside this entire morning to receive my Christmas tree, and then they said they weren't coming, and they were going to come. They're not coming. Okay, they're not coming till after 5, so I went early so I'd be available at 5. And they literally showed up when I went live. So fantastic. Anyway, resolved now. Let's play some poker. Welcome. Let me catch up with the chat. Larry Susan, what's up? Good to see you, Suze, man. I miss you. I had a dream about Larry Susan the other day. We were at some Susan, you must have heard of this. Like, you know this it's like a skateboard it's like a festival or something, and it's called Skate World or something. Me and you were just at Skate World. It was cool. Me and Susan. I didn't think the tree was coming tonight. I was told the tree was coming tonight. John Edwards. Ace 10 is the best hand. Can you believe it? And King Jack of Hearts. King Jack of Diamonds, excuse me, wins. Pretty standard all in there. I like the spot. I think probably the King Jack of Hearts call is fine. The Jack 9 suited is probably a little bit of a punt. How do I win a trip to Croatia? Yeah, I think you mean Prague, yeah. There's plenty of satellites running if you wanted to go check it out. OAP's asking how many tables. So when we're playing on stream, it's been 1 or 2. Off stream, I've been playing up to 4. I wouldn't say that we've been particularly like smashing volume. Like 5,000 games since like June isn't obviously that crazy. It wasn't really meant to be like a volume challenge. I just wanted to play something that we could track with the new format running. I'm just gonna gamble the Queen Jack here. Circadian, thank you very much. Hello, Mateus, by the way. Good to see you in the chat. Mateus Schwartz, another grinder. Jow Zera and Mateus, both active spin grinders. Lighter Maximo, what's up? Can we get a flip going here? 6. That's not a 6. Susan Skate Park doing kickflips and shit. Mostly we were just like dropping in to like vert ramps, which is something I always wanted to do but never could do. But we were doing it flawlessly. I'm trying to remember what the name is. It called Skatopia? I think it's called Skatopia. Skatopia is an 88-acre skate park near Rutland, Ohio, United States, owned by the operator Pro. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was. It might be, actually. Yeah, it might actually be Skatopia. Yeah, it looks like it's this one. It's pretty rad. Anyway, let's try and win a spin and go. Pretty straightforward stuff so far. Nice, getting lucky with the king nine. The king nine push is mandatory there. There's not really any adjustment even for specific player type. Speaking of adjustment for player type, we're going to sneak in a limp here. And where we would usually find a push against a reg. Larry Susan says, I built a 20-foot by 30-foot mini ramp in my backyard in 2017. And a lot of pros were chilling at my house during that time. So we can go for it again. I miss having one. I mean, I'm down. I'll teach you how to drop, and I can guarantee we do that. Okay, fair. One day. Team Boss says, my first attempt at skateboarding when I was younger, I broke my ankle. Yeah. I did recently see a reel where a guy tried to drop it for this first time, and he just broke his ankle like instantly. It was pretty brutal. It's got me kind of scared. I'm not sure if I can afford that in my old age. King high for the win? King high for the win? Close enough. If he jams there, I think we might even potentially give him a spin. Maybe not against this guy. We're still going to carry on with the limping strat here, guys. If he doesn't lead the turn... Oh, okay, interesting. Okay. King Jack of Spades is a little bit too good to fold here. We're playing this game really shit, to be honest, guys. That probably should have just been an all-in there with the King Jack of Spades. I feel distracted already. I feel tilted already. I hate the fact that I hate when streams get interrupted for bullshit. It's so annoying. You kick off a stream, you're in mid flow, and some stupid shit has to distract you from the actual work. And now I feel all off balance, and I don't really want to play. Trap the ace ten of spades. Are we actually going to win one of these eventually? One of these limp pots? All right, we're not folding this time. We're not folding this time. Hand's too strong. Check, check, river. Interesting. I mean, look, we're blocking the straight draws, which is not ideal. He can have missed flush draws. Does he do this with a 9? I guess a 9 would make sense. A 6 doesn't make sense. A Jack probably isn't going to be in there as often as you might think. Nice, good value bet with a 9, though. Fair enough. I think the 9 makes plenty of sense. There's a lot of stuff we beat, though, with the ace-10. Ooh, getting it in good. Getting it in good for the two bigs. The 4-3 call is mandatory, to be fair. Can't really knock him for that one. Wish me luck, guys. Queen 9 of diamonds. Beautiful hand. Diamond? Oh, never mind. Boat on the turn. Versus the 3x, I think we're going to fold here. And we're going to put this one as a steal. All right, we wouldn't usually limp 8 deuce. We're going to sneak it in here against the unknown. We're going to play 100% in position wherever possible. The open size has changed size, which is interesting. He's full potting flop, which I think is probably never a thing we do from a GTO perspective. All right, king, queen. We're going to call this one. Wish me luck, guys. No good on the flip. Okay, fair enough. Next game. That was a 50x as well. That would have been a nice flip to win. Yeah. Let's do one of these. We're gonna c bet like this. we're going to fire turn as well. I think we're going to go for something like this. Nice. 5's easy push. What's up, Smoking Branch? Good to see you. And fold this one. What's up, Guru? Good to see you. All right, can we get the chips in with Ace Queen? Mateus, it's a friend of the stream, by the way, over on YouTube. Ace Queen's a good hand. Let's put this one all in. Oh, button limp call? That would have been nice. What? That's not allowed, Mateus. And ace-6 has got to be a push here. We're just playing the 2x multiplier. Any ace on the button here is going to go. Mateus, nice hand. All right, so it's friend of the stream. Friend of the stream versus NWTV. Full Spin Poker, good to see you, mates. Welcome, another fellow spin grinder. Hold! Let's go. Full Spin Poker and I created a friendship through spins. My guy's grinding Spin Goes in Italia. Go and check him out. Also doing some streaming and some content creation on his YouTube, Instagram, social media. Against Mateus, we're going to fold a 10-4, and we are getting pretty close to a very wide calling range against a reg. Ace-King is a great hand, though. Can we finish it up for Mateus here? Should be calling King-Queen for sure. That's a cold deck in the heads-up department. 10? No. Mateus? We're not doing this more than once, mates. We're not doing domination rotation twice in one game, bruv. We're not doing it. This one will be fringe. And we are going to bet flop for sure. We're trying to get value from the spades there. He's not going to have an ace. Some of his jack combos raise pre as well. So we end up having what is basically the best hand all the time. We only really get value from bottom pair of spades, which needs to bet flop. Can we get one of the all-ins? 10. I mean, jack is what I meant to call for, not 10. Mateus getting lucky there. We domination rotation twice. Mateus hitting domination rotation on 2 occasions. Not cool, bruv. It's not looking good, bruv. Pocket 5, snap call. Winning flips is easy. Ooh, the ace on the river would be sweet. We're heads up against some man who is honestly a very good spin and go player, like annoyingly so. This is one of the players you just don't want to encounter. This is one of the players you really don't want to be grinding against. King high for the win on the river. Gone. Yeah, boy. Base Logic, what's up? Good to see you. Welcome back. Pleasure to have you on stream again. We're calling a shove here if we need to. We can probably bet flop here. We can probably check as well. I think I prefer the bet on ace 10 8. We should have a massive range advantage here. And I would say that the queen of spades is a pretty good turn card. So if we want to get more value, we would do something like this. He's going to have a 10 he's not supposed to fold. He's going to have Jack X with the straight draws. He's going to have a combination of both. And this is definitely a 100% push versus limp. Seven tray. We're sub 10 effective now, guys, so basically no min raising theoretically. You can play for stacks as a limp quite easily. Yeah, a lot of our suited combos are just going to be played like this. We have a double gut shot here. It's a really interesting double gutter, right? Any 10, any 6. Check raising is fine. I actually think with the double gut shot, we're better playing it slow, and then we can bluff later if we want to. Now, do we bluff? I think we're allowed to just bluff really small. Like, I'm not expecting him to fold a jack, a queen, or a king. But we can get him to fold an 8 or a 7. And occasionally we can get him to fold, just ace high and stuff. It all depends how often he bets Jack 8-7 just as like a just complete airball bluff. Like I think a lot of players would find like a check back flop and then sort of like delayed bet. Nice hand, well played. I do think the bet is pretty much mandatory there though. When they check the turn, I think they're going to end up with a lot of hands that want to fold, which I think is great for us. We're going to limp trap the ace 5 suited. We're calling a push if we need to. Yeah, we'll just bet this flop. In particular, when we have the bottom pair with the good kicker, it's gonna probably just tip us in the favor of a bet once. I'm hoping that he has 5-4 and I can just prove my point here, but probably not a call with the 8 of diamonds on the river. Yeah, again, just the push territory here at 12 effective. Slight favorite. Slight favorite against Jack 5 of clubs, which I think is good push, by the way. I think Jack 5 of clubs needs to go there. Just ultra short push fold kind of stuff. Not really too much magic in that. Just got to do the right thing. If you think the player's good as well, it's even better. Um, Do we get the whole stack? We get the whole stack. That's an interesting river bet by Queen 5. Queen 5. We got the whole stack. That was nice. So bet turn. Check flop in an ISO'd pot. Yeah. Bet turn, ISO'd pot with a check on the turn. Yeah. River shove is interesting. So I think probably the thought process here is that we're not going to have as much 9x as you might think off of the smaller ISO size in our range of ISOs. So I guess he's not as worried about the 9. Does it feel like maybe we have ace 10, ace jack, and they're just trying to get max from that? The thing is, some man's a really good player. So if they're doing this, you kind of got to stop and take note and kind of be like, is this something we should be doing? Is this something that we would do? Yeah. I think maybe play the hand the same way in check river though. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I think in the moment, maybe the way that I played it made it feel like I had ace jack, ace 10, something like that. I think probably it's a dangerous river to want to shove with queen 5, but it's probably good. It's probably okay. I think it depends. Cinco, cinco, cinco. Um. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I'm going to mark that 6-7 because I'm pretty sure that was one that I was messing up. So we're not even at 15. We're actually close to 14 effective there. And I think the trick is at 15 effective and below, we're opening 7-8 suited but 6-7 suited rarely. Against unknowns, 6-7 suited is a monster. Just play it. But against the regs who are going to shove correctly, I think we need to play more by the book because you're just going to be burning big blinds if you play too wide there. And these guys are going to know their three-way really well. So I think the trick is that 6-7 doesn't make the cut under 15. 6-7 suited. Shavzera says, weird river shove. You have 10-9, Jack-9, Queen-9, King-9. Yeah, I mean, look, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, thank you for the range reminder there as well, Shavzera, because I'm going, like, maybe we have less 9x, but we have a lot of 9x, don't we, in reality? Shavzera over on YouTube saying, the river shove is a bit weird. I think that it's a fine river bluff shove, especially given the way that we played the hand. But I think that it's a strange river value shove. Jazera says never having more than 50% equity when called by Queen 5 suited. Yeah, it's I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I tend to agree. King 9, King 6 is a nice setup. The King 6 call is going to be fine here as well versus me. Like reg v reg, we just wanna be in there, I think. Queen 5 hearts. Oh, hello. That is very reasonable. Hello, Jean. Welcome. Bonjour. Yeah, Zhao, I tend to agree, mate. I tend to agree. I think I like all of it until the river. But like when you're in the middle of a hand and you just have a very strong feeling they have a specific combo. Like if he thinks I've got ace jack or ace 10 there, and that's just like where his head is at, I think it's a really cool move. But I think the 9 The 8 river is complicated, right? It just makes everything a little bit worse. Makes every value bet a little bit worse. Some man. Where are we at right now? Can we play this? I think the push actually gets us called by the 8 and the like 8s and 7s more often. Let's just go for it. Running into aces is whatever. 9. I've been experimenting with the push in this spot a little bit more because then like we're allowed to just push our flush draws and we like still like viably have top pairs that want to just get more action. As soon as he bets that low flop though, we do need to be slightly concerned about, some combos, some very strong ones. I'd say this is a good game for us overall though. Running into aces is like kind of whatever. It's a spot where we can get called by worse 9s because they're going to limp like loads of their suited 9s that stacked up still that are below a 10. Still get called by strong 8s, like ace 8, king 8. We'll still have to call the jam. The flush draws probably have to call quite often for equity. Straight draws the same. I think overall it's good. You're just not going to do well when you run into aces most of the time, right? Base Logic says full spins poker in the other chat, another spin legend. I would put him in the legendary status category for sure. 6-4 offsuit is pretty loosey-goosey BVB here. Against the unknown player, we're going to do whatever the fuck we want. We're not going to be told what to do. We're not going to take it, chat. We're going to do whatever we want. We're just going to do whatever we want. Limped pot, he's more than full potting. This is no good. This is not poker. This is not poker. John is asking, do you know how many players win money with spinning goes? I don't know the percent. I don't know the percent, but I would say just like pretty much all forms of poker, it's probably single digits. It's probably low single digits. But also when you think about, let me restart this program. Hanson Note does this buggy thing where it starts to resize itself whenever you go over like the edges of the program. I would say, well, when you think about how many people play spins, because it's such a popular, ooh. No, let's just skip this one. It's such a popular like casual game that people enjoy. Like there's so many, like such a huge portion of the entire population plays spins like once in a while. We're just going to limp trap the aces here. Watch this guy blow up. Oh my god, the tramp of the century. Tramp of the century. It's a good question though, Jean. I would say low single digits. I know many people who do though. And based on our results from this challenge, because this is the first like reasonable amount of volume that we've played since the merge. I think we can confidently say that by the end of 5K games, we should be in a situation where we would be like winning a few percent ROI. We've obviously improved quite a lot. Do I want to try and get him to fold a 9 or a 10? Not really after we check the flop, huh? Yeah, nice. Good check. By the end of this challenge, and after the work that we've done, I think that we should confidently be able to say that we're beating 10s. And then in the future, we might look at playing higher stakes. Pair of 5s wins? Nice hand. Yeah, the call on that river is close, I think. Yeah, I think 10. I think 10 would be quite high, John. That's nice. Thank you, Alex. We'll give Alex the friend of the stream mark here. He said good luck with the challenge. I think that's nice. I think 10% is probably quite high, John. Although I honestly just don't know at all. I couldn't even guess really. I can only go on based on. It would be weird for 10% of people playing spins to be winners, and like I don't know, like 5% of cash players to be winners. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think. Again, those are just numbers I'm kind of randomly picking. I think like what percentage of people are consistently winning at poker, I would say is probably already single digits. We can push King Deuce here. Okay, let's just play it as a push here against Alex. It's definitely going to be profitable. We're just trying to see if there's an alternative, way to play it that's going to be slightly better. Let's do 3.5 ISO here. We're calling a shove, obviously, if we need to. Wish me luck. Good luck, mate. Yeah, GG. Good chop with the queens here. I think technically, just out of interest, let's take a look at the spot because it is I think it's quite a good one to look at. Shit. Tools, history, this one, yeah, all tables. Let's start with the most recent hand. That's so annoying. So the ISO call here, this is textbook from the queen 10 off. This is fine. We're not always going to large ISO queen 10, but we do it very frequently at this stack depth. The queens is interesting. I'm almost positive that queens is supposed to flat versus the big ISO. So queen 10 off, the standard ISO size here is 2 or 2.5 as a small, and then as a big, it's going to be 3, like 3 or 3.5, something like that. So once we do this, I actually think technically queens, kings, and aces are meant to be flatting in position. However, I want to mark this one for review because I would say, like, obviously shipping the queens is not a mistake, but you might actually catch some of the range that ISO folds. Because the big ISO strategy there involves using the very bottom of your range as well as some of the stronger stuff. So I'll mark that one for review later as well. But we're supposed to ISO big like ace 10 off, ace king off, ace queen off, and then like 8-7 suited, and then some suited aces, and then like 7 deuce off 10% of the time, and like 8 deuce off 10% of the time, and all that kind of weird shit. I would say against most players, just putting it in. I mean, you're not going to ever mess up that hand that bad, but I think that there is probably an edge there somewhere to be had. OAP likes the Nick and the Joe beard. I need to change this. Does anyone have any good ideas for images? Profile picture is when you went out from the variance. No, although that was very stressful. Tyrell, what's up? Good to see you. Dislike McGregor, what's up? Yes, we're gonna do a Chat Pro Poker show probably before Christmas. I think we're gonna try and do a Christmas special, myself and Strag. We're calling it all in here if we need to. Playing these two all day long, by the way. These two are online like 24/7. These two super grinders, man. Online 24. And both not players you want to really play a bunch of poker with. Just a little bit too skillful. Too many skills. Yeah, Jauzera, this is exactly the point I'm trying to make. Jauzera in the chat regarding the limp shove with the queens. He says, I see many regs limp shoving the top of their range, which weakens a lot of their flatting range. That's exactly correct. That is exactly right. And look, Jauzera is one of the best to be playing right now. One of the best grinders out there. Nice hand. This is 9 big blinds. We're shoving 10-8, right? It's definitely going to be Nash. Like the 10-8 gem is always going to be profitable there, but I'll mark that one for review as well just to check against GTO. I'm like pretty sure that's always just push. Next game. But yeah, that's exactly right. Like if we want to limp call an ISO at 9 effective like we did just now, or no, where were we? Sorry, we were closer to 8. Yeah, we were like 8 or something. If we want to limp call some of our range and take a flop, then obviously if we're shoving the top of our range like queens and kings and aces, then like everything that we flat is going to be like more speculative and weaker in general. So that's an important thing to note, because if you get limp jammed on there, you can expect stronger hands, but when they limp call, then obviously their range is going to be more middle of the pack. Full Spin makes a good point here as well. There are a lot of regs who are losing value because they are not able to manage the post-flop situation. Yeah. Exactly. It's a good-looking graph, though, right, guys? I got that one marked for review now. It's a good-looking graph. If this green line would stop fucking around and actually, I'm doing all right. Chocata. Let's do one of these. That works, doesn't it? Yeah. Chocata. I think it's safe to say Chocata is probably some variety of reg. We should have just shoved the 6-5 here suited. If he was in yellow, I would have done it. We might have saved ourselves some chips in the end, but like the 6-5 push is so strong there. That's actually very, very high value for us. We're going to ISO small with the Jack-8s. Chocata. Jeffrey Wad, thank you very much for the good looks. Yeah, exactly. And it all ties together, doesn't it, Zhao? Zhao says, completely agree. That's why so many regs have such a high fold to c-bet in ISO pots. They're calling with the wrong hands, right? They don't end up having enough of the strong part of their range. Chocata. We're going to give... Okay, cool, he's back. That's good. I was going to say we were going to give him a couple beats there to come back. Stop looking at the graph mid-session. Sorry, you're right. You're right, Crooks. Sorry, mate. To be fair, in today's setup, it's actually inspirational rather than depressing. Chocata. The 7 tray suited is a very rare ISO, but I randomized low, so I'm gonna do it properly as much as possible against the reg. I think we're only ISOing the bottom of our suited range, like 10% or something. And if I guess and get it wrong often enough, it'll be a randomization in itself, right? I can make it work. I can make it work. I can make it work for sure. Sometimes I'll randomize into shit that I'm not supposed to randomize into. I'm like, yeah, I randomized 10%, so I'm going to ISO, and it's like a 0% ISO. That'll teach the computers. Hey, thank you very much for the follow. Draven, what's up? Says honestly asking to learn why are we limping just to fold? We seem to be folding every time to an all in there. So we're not though, Draven. That's the point, right, buddy? If for the most part, I'm not saying that we're always perfect in every situation, but I think it's probably safe to say that we've played enough now that we're very good at this in general. We very often if we limp a large part of our range, we should limp enough of the strong stuff in order to make it a conceivable trap. I'm hoping that he's just going to blast off at this ace. So I don't know which hand you're speaking about specifically, Draven, but there is a large, absolutely massive limping component in GTO. Check again. Can we trap him? Gone, Chokata. He's never seen anyone check a flush in their life. Pocket sixes would be hilarious, right? So, in response to your question, there are hands that we limp to fold 100%, but we will also limp very strong hands that will be traps, and therefore our opponent can expect to win some chips when they raise versus our limps. But then also they can expect to also, run it. That we're going to have big hands as well. That should deter them and also give us a chance to actually have strong hands in a believable way. I do know a decent number of. That was a nice hand, by the way. I do know, a good portion of people that are relatively good at this game. And when they limp at a certain stack depth, they always have strong hands. So they're not limping enough of the trash that they always fold. So it's important to think about it this way. Rather than going, why would we limp a hand that we fold 100%? Think about it as sometimes we limp, and if we're doing it correctly, our opponents can't always attack it because we'll have traps and we get to play more in position. So we actually get to bluff, post-flop. We get to play the hand post-flop. Sometimes we get lucky post-flop. So there's a component where we call, and if we're doing it correctly, our opponents will be forced to play out of position against us, which is beneficial. And then there's the component that allows us to actually just have stronger hands as a trap in a believable way. In a balanced fashion. We're definitely calling turn here. He's going to have a lot of flush draws. He might have a deuce once in a while, but for the most part, when they do this, they're trying to buy a cheap card. Nice. Thank you, Raksha. I appreciate it. Draven said, sorry, I've just seen about 5 or 6 limps and then folds while watching for the past 15 or 20 minutes, and I was curious. Thank you for explaining. No, dude, don't apologize. I'm happy to discuss it. Happy to discuss it. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just trying to explain. This is a nice flop for us, actually. We're definitely not going to fold, obviously. I think we have a couple plans here, though. Yeah, let's call. And then we're going to lead this one very small. And I think we're going to commit the rest now on the river. We can conceivably have a 9 or a flush. And I think we probably would play it in the same fashion. Blocking 8-9, blocking 9-10. Fair enough. We made him cook for the kings. He almost folded that. That was very reasonably the top of his range, and also blocking flushes is, it's going to be a good thing too. Fair play running into the top of the range. I like the move, though. We can see we almost got that hand to fold. He only had another second in his time bank. Draven, if you have any questions, though, I'm happy to discuss, mate. No problem. So, if you want, Draven, if you stick around for long enough, at the very end, we'll take a look at, what one entire range looks like. So, let's say that we're heads up and we're in position. Excuse me. And we're at 9 big blinds effective. From a theory standpoint, there's almost no min raising. We're going to play it as a limp, or we're going to play it as a shove, or we're going to play it. We're going to play it as a shove or a limp or a fold, right? So we're not min raising, And in doing so, by having lots of limps, we're able to enter the pot for the least amount of money, which means that we are allowed to play with a wider range because it costs us less to enter the pot. But in order to do so without being exploited, what we need to do is understand what frequencies we're going to be using. So if we're trapping aces and kings and queens and aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, if we're limping all those hands, that's a certain percentage of the deck that we're going to be doing that with the strongest part. And then we have to balance that with having a reasonable amount of weak stuff to conceivably be limping where we're not always going to have super strong hands at those shallow stacked ups. So over the course of 15 minutes, over the course of like watching one table, you might see me limp fold an absolute mountain, but the number of times where we actually end up having strong hands, or we're able to use our position when it goes limp check to generate, profit in non-all-in pots, and also, basically outplaying our opponents and winning at non-showdown. I guess it's kind of a trust me bro moment, but my results also would indicate that that's true, right? Because over time, like, our profitability in these games is mathematically sound, and having that limp strategy just is very good. It's pretty much the only way. If we're playing a min raise or fold strategy like at those ultra stack depths, we're leaving way too much money on the table because we're not playing enough pots in position. We're exposing too much money when we're trying to bluff because we're forced to raise fold some of the deck, which is really bad, or we're just not playing enough hands in position, which is even worse. So the math adds up. And I'm not smart enough to work it out myself, but I've learned from others. Hello, QB. Good to see you. Yes, full spin poker. We are currently doing, this is actually the last spin and go qualifier. We're in the last sort of stretch now, I think. There might be another one. I'm not sure. Let's do this one. Chocata is an old school sit and go reg. Yeah, I believe it. I just marked them up as a reg. In fact, I've seen them a lot now. I've only seen them playing like more recently though. Didn't get a lot of volume with Chocata, but recently seen him quite a lot. Folding the ace-4 seems... No, against reg, we'll just push this one. This is fine. Against reg, we'll just push it. Again, the flat might work here too, sort of, but ace-4 off is just not playable enough, is it? It's annoying. Beautiful. All right, JT, we're going to min raise and we're going to call a shove if we need to. It's a very, very strong blind v blind raise. And a hand with mountains of equity against the push. We almost got the kings to fold, chat. It was spicy. What's really annoying about that spot where we have the 10-8 is we've played our hand in a way a lot of players wouldn't, which actually looks uber strong. It looks like we've turned the flush. It looks like, we potentially are trying to buy a cheap. We saw him using that small size with middle pair. That became, the check back. When we had ace-9 and he had middle pair, for example, there's a chance we're supposed to fold ace-9 to turn ace-9 into a bluff there once in a while as well. Might be too strong to bluff on the river, but we've played our hand in a way which conceivably can get some very strong hands to fold, but then we also have the flush draw and the up and down straight draw on the turn. Now, if your opponent has the king of hearts, obviously the hearts are cooked, but we're going to get there often enough for the small block as well just to actually buy us a cheap river. I'm not a believer in betting small to buy cheap rivers because if you do it too much, you're just going to get like run over when people raise you on the turn. All right. Are we any closer to an NWTV hoodie yet? No, maybe next year. The problem is that like in the average week now, we gotta bluff this river, right? Yeah. Um, in the average week of my year now, Dunbar, like you know better than most people, but most, right? We're doing so many different projects. Like the amount of actual time I've been able to stream on NWTV is so small, and I've having been a streamer for so long and worked on the Stars channel for so long now. Um, King Jack forever. Hmm. Probably it can be a six or a tray. I don't know if they bluff like this though. This feels like a really bad spot for a reg to be bluffing. This would be a fucking hero call to be hero fold to be honest, but a reg just never bluffs in this spot. That's the thing. Like if the way we've played our hand, that we're screaming that we have king high, so why would they try and bluff on a double paired board? I think we've probably just saved like a lot of chips because that's just not a spot that you would confidently bluff like reg v reg the way the hand was played. Draven says, I really appreciate you explaining. I see so many streamers getting annoyed or testy when questions like that are asked. Thanks again. It's very helpful. No problem, dude. That's what we're here to do. That's why we're one tabling, Draven. That's why I like to one table so we can kind of stop and have a bit of a convo about these things. Yeah, if people get funny about you asking like, like why are they doing a certain thing? If you're being respectful, I can appreciate sometimes people can be very rude and they can ask like really annoying loaded questions as well. Um, But often when people get funny, it's because they probably are doing something wrong or they probably don't understand a concept correctly and therefore they feel like threatened whenever you ask them like why are you doing something and they don't have an answer as to why. Does that make sense? Like, if you know what I mean? Can we win an all in? Nice. If you see Zdam 10s and 25s, very strong reg from Lithuania. Hot. I'll keep an eye out. That name does kind of ring a bell. Do I have a BBZ video? I do not. We did discuss making one first for a little while, but I didn't end up capitalizing, I'm afraid. I actually sat down to try and plan something like that, either for my channel or for BBZ. And ultimately, I'm really, 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 really bad at making like trimmed down content. I wanted to make a bundle, but every time I sat down to start creating the bundle, I got really bogged down with what I wanted to include, and it just ended up being bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it was like, this probably isn't a bundle anymore, if you know what I mean. Yeah, no, I know, Dunbar, I know. Hey, Don the dude, what's up? Good to see you, my guy. How are you doing, mate? It has been a bit. How you getting on? Can we win an all-in today? To be fair, we shouldn't complain. We have been winning a decent amount of all-ins recently. Robin Chip says, love the content. Recently started grinding 3-max again. Any rules of thumb for where recreationals are misplaying pre-flop? So, Robin, I would say probably a very, very broad but very, very good rule of thumb. This is something that I covered, by the way, in if you guys have never seen this is free, and it shouldn't have been free in the end. This is actually more of like what a bundle would have looked like, but it's completely free on PokerStars Learn. Courses, Spin Go. All right, so check this out. If you guys haven't seen this yet, this might be a little bit too beginner for some of you out there, but there are things in here that will improve any game. It is designed to be for beginners, but ultimately there was actually a very reasonable amount of good stuff in there that I think might have been potentially paid content in a different life. So Robin, if you check that out, I can't remember what the video was, but I did cover some of this. So as a general rule of thumb, where are recreationals misplaying the most pre-flop? So in short, let's say that you are a studied player. You know your pre-flop pretty well. There's always better. You can always be better at pre-flop. Um, the one thing that I would say is as soon as you see somebody who's doing things that are unusual, and in order to know that they're unusual, you have to study yourself, right? It's not good enough to say, oh, this guy's a donkey because he beat me in this pot. It's not enough to say, this guy's a fish because I don't know why he had that hand. What often happens is if you are playing against somebody very often, they're going to be more of a reg just because they're playing more volume. And sometimes you're going to play against people very little, and the fact that you see them very little means that they're more of a fish, right? What I would say is, step one, you have to identify, are they a reg, are they a recreational? If you think that they are a reg and you have good reason to believe so, you can assume that they're going to do a lot of things by the book. They're going to follow the rules. They're going to have the right ranges. So let's say that you're looking at pre-flop, right? You're looking at things that you should be doing against population, an average population, a good population. Most of the time, the stuff that you study where you are proactively doing something, it's going to be good. So if you study a spot and it says you should probably bet the flop and you should probably bet the turn and you should probably shove the river, you're going to do very well, assuming that you were the person at like sort of like running the show, as it were, most of the time. That's probably an over complicated example. Let's say that the computer says that you should be raising this hand pre-flop. It's probably almost always correct. It's very, very difficult for you as the initial person starting out to mess up if it says you should sort of raise pre-flop, right? If it says then on the flop that you should c-bet at this frequency and you should do it with this size, that's almost always going to be good as well. Because again, you have set the tone. Your opponents can respond however they want, but there's only kind of one specific way for them to respond that is going to be optimal. And if they don't, it's usually going to be to your advantage, which means that the flop action is probably going to be even more to your advantage if they fucked up the pre-flop, blah, 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 right? So in situations in general, when you are taking action and you have studied the spot, you're going to do very well. However, as soon as you are reacting to a player changing the action on their terms, you need to be very careful with how you proceed, because people think a solver or GTO wizard and all that, they're like, oh, see, like that's why I don't play online poker, because anybody can look up the answer right away. That's just not true. It's just not true. It can teach you how to do a lot of things very well. And again, if you're the one if you're taking the action, very often it's going to give you a good way to behave or a very strong way to play the hand, in that fashion. But as soon as the random guy 3-bets you, if their 3-betting range doesn't look the way it's supposed to look, the way that you respond is broken. And the sort of part that you look up after the 3-bet is wrong. It's completely false. So what do recreationals do bad pre-flop? So the most common misplay pre-flop is either they're too tight or they're too loose. Okay? I would say for the most part, people skew more towards being too tight. As soon as you see somebody who's kind of being too loose in a spin and go, it becomes so obvious that they're just splashing around. You really just can afford to just wait for a hand and then just get them, right? So there's people that aren't playing enough hands, so it feels like they're folding too often. That's a sign that someone's too tight. If they're not raising versus your limps aggressively enough, that's an indication that they're too tight. That's something that's easily exploitable. The opposite of that is the people that are opening to 3x or 3.5x pre-flop. That size is broken. You cannot use that size profitably. It's just not a thing. You don't have enough big blinds to be raising, 3 big blinds of your 15 big blind starting stack. Do you know what I mean? So those are patterns of behavior where you can immediately kind of know whether or not they're good. And if you see that, it should be relatively easy to adjust, but you can remove some of the variance as well. So if you're playing against a recreational who is too tight, you can assume that when they bet, they're going to have a stronger range than they should. They're not going to bluff enough. You can assume that you can play a wider range in position heads up against them because they're not going to raise versus limp. And when they do, they're going to be super strong. That is probably one of the biggest things that you can do to mess people up who are too passive. So let's say I'm playing somebody heads up, and we get to the heads up, and we are now 9 big blinds heads up, right? At 9 big blinds effective, you're going to be all in a lot against a reg, right? From a theory standpoint, we want to be unexploitable, and for that reason, a lot of the hands that are marginally strong enough to be all in profitably against a perfect opponent, they're going to take the spot to push. So let me give you a good example. We're heads up at 9 big blinds effective, and you have king 5 offsuit. You can shove king 5 offsuit profitably against any player. That's unexploitable. If you play that strategy, you cannot be exploited. Your opponent can call with the correct range, or they cannot, and if they don't, you win more. That's it. If they call too loose, it's to your benefit. If they call too tight, it's to your benefit. There's only one way to appropriately conquer that, and that's to play optimally against them. However, when you look at how many chips you actually win with that all in, it's actually not that much if they're playing perfectly. It's like, point whatever big blinds. That doesn't mean it's not a good thing to do, but you do that against players who you are concerned are going to exploit you in other areas. Pre-flop, for example, if you are limp folding too much, I can raise a wider range, and therefore I win chips off you when you fold. And that's going to be a good way to sort of exploit that one particular spot. But back to my point, in the situation where you're playing against an unknown player who you think is very passive and perhaps not a very good player, shoving king 5 is going to be profitable, but you're going to do way better by calling. And why is that? Because if we call, our opponent will literally tell us if they have a good hand by raising, okay? This whole argument breaks down as soon as they start raising as a bluff, but that's the whole point. We've already identified we think they're passive. So you can remove tons of the variance from that spot that is GTO push, and you end up outplaying them post-flop so often as well. It's not only a win pre-flop where you don't need to risk chips that you don't need to, but your opponent is going to either indicate that they're strong or they're going to let you take the pot uncontested, which wins you a lot more EV. If you know that you can get to a flop and then bet one big blind often, or play in some fashion that wins you the pot at non-showdown very frequently, you're going to accrue EV much faster, because rather than being all in 100 times and you're winning half a big blind in EV by like shoving the king 5 at 9 big blinds or whatever it is, if you can be on the flop with a much wider range and take the flop away 100% of the time when your bluffs are successful or when your bets are successful of any variety, the EV is going to go like this versus the flat EV of like 0.5 big blinds that you get when you shove 100% of the time. If your opponents are super, super crazy and ultra aggressive, but not in a structured like good way, in a bad way, if they're like raising too big and then they're shoving, they're c-betting full pot, or they're like overbet jamming, that's just a straight spot where you just wait for good hands and you just call. Don't get suckered in. Don't go. If you're heads up and you're 15 big blinds effective and the guy is opening to 3.5 big blinds, don't look down at like king 5 suited and then go, well, it's a call for too big, so now this guy's an idiot, I'm just going to call. Like you're exposing too much dead money where they're just going to run you down. Sometimes that will work for them, but over their lifetime of you playing them, that style will lose them huge amounts of chips. Just be patient and just wait for good spots. Try and be in as many pots as you can where they could potentially blow up. Give them the rope to blow up. If you have a big hand, don't feel obliged to play it in a balanced way. If you flop a flush, if you flop 2 pair plus, just check and let the maniac do the maniac thing on a later street. Don't feel like you have to be balanced and I have to bet this flop, otherwise it's going to look too strong, blah, blah, blah. They're not thinking about that, if that makes sense. All right, cool. Porn says, hey, Nick, in how many years are you going to finish this 50K? It's almost there, buddy. It's almost there. Let me show you. This is where we're at, mates. This is the chip graph. We're at 4,353, so we're 750 games away from completion, so we're not far at all, man. Bearing in mind as well, buddy, we've been doing this since June? Like very part-time. So 5,000 games playing a little bit here and there. Ain't so bad. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Hey, Don the Dude, I'm great, Nick. Thank you. The restaurant I run is really taking off. I'll be there 5 years this March and just keeps growing. Don, could you send me a link to that, mate? I want to check it out. All right, we're going to limp. Jeffrey says, if someone to your left is super loose, are you pushing more pre or are you even using more all in to get them to fold? Um, do you mean in poker in general, Jeffrey, or in spins multi-way, or you know? No problem, Robin. I hope that was helpful. I think step one, identify. Step one, just identify that do I think this guy is a reg? And if they're not, you can assume that they're probably not playing particularly well. I think that's just fair of most things. Identify whether or not you think that they're playing too passively or too loose. If they're too passive, you should exploit the fact that they're going to indicate strength often for free without you having to risk too many chips. Um, and then if they're too loose, just be patient and let them blow up. Wait for them to make a mistake. Can we win with a 5 here? All right. Well, Alex is a friend of the stream. He's already said hi once today. So far, games have not been particularly good, right? We've been playing a lot of regs thus far. Undersea Monkey, hello. Loving some spin action to get me through the rest of the working day. I hope you enjoy, Undersea. Good to see you. The House of Sickness, eh? Verse reg, this is probably going to be a call. Yeah, this is going to be within our sort of spectrum of call territory against reg. Good spot. Nice. I've started to give myself a little bit more of a buffer in those spots. I gave you guys a speech a couple streams ago, but basically I feel like even most regs that I know are very good, they're still shoving on the tighter side there, so I've adjusted, my calling range by a few big blinds. Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to bluff the dry pot. Thank you, Hot Hot. I appreciate that. Thank you, Base Logic as well. Thank you for the follow. Let me put that link in the chat here as well, guys. What happened to the PokerStars Learn? There it is. If you guys are interested over on YouTube as well, there's a link in the chat now for the course that I did for PokerStars Learn. Like I said, it's meant to be basic. I think actually we end up going into some pretty good topics. Robin, if you're interested as well, mate, if you're interested, check out the PokerStars Learn video about pre-flop that I did. That was probably one of the more advanced videos that I put together, but I think it kind of has it has a sort of like global application to like pre-flop and like in Texas Hold'em in general, or just poker in general. And I think that goes even deeper into more of what I was saying. Like I tried to simplify this sort of a couple like common mistakes, I guess, or the two most common sort of archetypes that I think are exploitable. But it goes more into like hand reading based on ranges. Like how are we gonna take on certain situation based on pre-flop actions and stuff. Give that one a look. That's a particularly good one. I am kind of tempted to raise the turn. I think I'd rather just get there, though. 7-8 would be funny. Yeah, let's go like this. Thank you for the follows, guys. I appreciate you. Yeah, we getting paid. That's good. What does he call us with here? He's got deuce 4-0. Yeah, 2 pair on the turn. Good call. All right, King Jack, obviously easy call for that shallower stack depth. The 10-5 suited push here is absolutely spot on correct, though. We're going to do exactly the same thing. Good game for us. Unlucky with the 2 pair there. I think probably both players would do something similar. I forgot to pop out my stream manager. One sec, guys. I'm in Berlin. Thank you for the follow. Limp Race, thank you for the follow. Axfire, thank you for the follow. Dunbar, thank you for the resub, mate. I missed that as well. And yeah, 1,500 followers. Appreciate it, guys. I do feel a bit sad that we can't do more Nick Walsh TV streams, you know, between the other work that we do for PokerStars and stuff. But maybe in the new year, you know, we'll have a different repertoire. Draven, thank you for the follow. Krupele, thank you for the follow. I know some of you guys joined just as I was just decided to run off and collect that Christmas tree, but I appreciate you. What's up, Black Elf? Black Elf, are you not on my Discord channel, by the way? I was trying to tag you the other day. Have you left my Discord channel? Are we not friends anymore? What is this full pot size from Sib? Interesting. Limp Race 187. What's up, dude? Let's do this. I would love to say it's a tramp, but King 8's got to call 100% here anyway. We're trying to get Cat FC involved a bit more here. We're going to do this with like quite a wide range, though. Like we're not – the limp when there's an extreme shorty in the big blind or the small blind is going to be balanced because we're going to have more of a merged range there as well. It's not just going to be the strongest part of our range. All right, we're coming in with a steal. Please refer to my previous message. Peak poetry that you ignored. What did he write here? It's true. Once they become famous, they don't have time for their friends. I actually totally missed that. Oh, Black Elf. No, and we're getting trapped. You brought this on us. Ace! Queen! Queen would be a meme. Nice answer. It is peak poetry, for fuck's sake. All right, next game. All right, we get a good game here. It's only a 2x multiplier, I'm afraid. But let's see if we can win some chips here. Oh, by the way, guys, we won a 25x earlier today. We won 200 buccarinos. Earlier today. Okay. A little bit of middle pair going on here. Oh, why is he full potting this flop? Is this absolutely insane, guys? You guys watching this insanity? We're just folding middle pair on the flop here against the unknown player. We'll keep an eye on this, guys, but I feel like we've been good at picking these spots. Don't think we can fold. Queen Jack. Some of the better kings and Queen Jack are supposed to be raised pre. He could have a flush, I suppose. The ace is supposed to be all in pre-flop as well. Yeah, fair play. We'll make a note that he plays the ace-4 like this. Like I said, we've already identified we don't know this guy, so we're not calling there because we're like it's impossible for him to have this hand. But if they aren't playing the ace aggressively in that spot, then again we can draw sort of conclusions about the way they're going to play the rest of their range. So this would be like an early indication of somebody who I would consider to be very, very. I would consider this player like very passive. So like the check back ace-4 off at 14 effective is definitely something that we want to have a note of. Because I do think that this is check back ace-4 off versus limp 14 effective. I do think that that is the beginnings of an indication that our opponent has, more passive tendencies. And I think that sort of cascades down into the rest of their decision making. Ace-Queen versus Ace-7, unlucky anyway, but fair play. I think once we make it to the river with that king, though, we're going to call there most of the time, especially if we have a spade blocker in our hand. And yet I still love you, abusive relationship. You're so rude to me. Tyrell likes the exploit fold. I mean, it's even better, Tyrell, right? If he's not shoving ace-4 versus limp at 14 effective, and he's full potting on 10-5 deuce, like that was probably the best fold I made all day. World-class middle pair fold. Pocket queens. Small blind's all in. I can't believe he's all in. Oh, he's going to call. That's even better. Against the unknown players, we can do something absolutely ridiculous. You guys ready for this? We're going to do something totally ridiculous because it works really well against unknown play. Not the ace-high board. Oh, for fuck's sake. I mean, it was world-class, guys. We got way more chips in here than we should have done. With a player to act behind here as well still. The initial open calls. Oh, my goodness. Against one player, we can never fold, right? If the pot is like that and we end up on that flop, if we end up on that flop and we've got queens and your opponent's all in, you have to call still. That's kind of the whole point of that move. But with one player to act behind in a spot where we've 3-bet not all in and got called twice, I think the ace is going to be a pretty massive bummer there. This guy could just have a flush draw, don't get me wrong, but like, kind of is what it is. Come back. All right. It's a funny one with the queens there. The not all in squeeze is so good. We managed to get 10 big blinds in the middle from both players. It's like absolutely massive for us. We just need flops that don't contain ace king. That'd be great. All right, we're going to trap ace king here. Terrible flop. King or an ace, please. King or an ace, please. Ace king is the nuts. Nice. All right, we can shove king 5 profitably here. This is exactly or very close to the spot we were discussing a moment ago about playing against recreationals. Hasi, by the way, I'm sorry if you're a super reg and I just don't know you, but thus far, calling in the small blind and then calling a third of your stack, probably not going to be very reg heavy, I would say. And then like overbet jam leading on ace high, probably not very reggy. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Hasi is not a professional spin and go player. Oh. Can we turn our hand into a bluff here? Should we try? Let's try. Wish me luck, chat. Oh, queen high flush. Nice hand. All right. Oh, shit. Sorry, we still have a big blind in that game. Shit. Yeah. Go back. Oh no, what do I have? Call. Shit. No. Oh no. Oh, it's so annoying. Are we actually going to get our controls back here? Oh my god, the comeback of the century. Undersea Monkey likes the non-aligned squeeze. Yeah, it's like technically we're supposed to squeeze jam, but we can be unbalanced against these players. All right, well that was a nightmare. Let's carry on. Actually, I wanted to make a note on this guy. That's why I did that. That's why I left the game on accident. All right, so let's make a note about the sizing structure here against Hasi. So this is ridiculously important again, right? Because we can make these moves, and we could run into big hands, but when we do, we need to have we need to get learn something about the spot, right? So what we're gonna do is, first of all, I think probably this is pretty unusual play in general. Why can't I type today? So this betting structure, this pattern of behavior is something we want to be aware of because the point of like playing this river this way is because at this point we feel like Ace King is no longer winning. We're playing Ace King slow on the flop because it's just a fine hand to check at the stack depth, right? On the turn when our opponent leads, though, we need to be aware this could be a 6, this could be a 9, this could be a 10, this could be a flush draw, this could be air, right? So we're not checking a hand as strong as Ace King just to give up, and we call correctly, right? We absolutely call correctly. On the river, if your opponent has a 9, which is the made straight, or they have 6-9 where they turn the straight, or they had 9-10 all along, or they had the spades, when they've got 7.38 big blinds behind and there's 6 in the middle, even players in general who are trying to get value from a 9 or whatever, they're trying to keep you in with your 10x or your 8x, they're probably going to size their bet differently from this, right? When you've made the flush on what is potentially a one-card straight board, most people are going to size up in general, right? So what we're doing is we're saying, I don't think you're going to play a flush like this. I actually don't think you play a 9 like this. We're going to apply pressure and try and get you to fold a jack, a 10, an 8, whatever. So we've actually made the move in a spot which we know is like appropriate because we know that we're probably not going to have the best hand with Ace King on the 10 of spades river. If they turn up with a hand as strong as this, that's fine. However, what we're going to want to do is be aware of the fact that they are the kind of players that size down for what they perceive to be value, right? The size down in this spot is not going to be an induce, even though it did specifically induce us to play that way. And therefore, we just want to be aware that we probably want to be more careful on small bet rivers because it can contain more strength. Mateus, you don't need to apologize, mate. It's all good. It's just a game. It's all fine, mate. All right, let's get another game going. Thank you very much to Zintex for the tier 1 sub, or the gifted tier 1 sub. Thank you. I mean, the headline of that last game, is we convinced both players to put in a third of their stack, and it came ace high when we had queens. It's honestly a sick exploit, though. That's not the way that GTA will have you play that hand, but it will win us so much more. And you can see how effective it was. We managed against 2 players to put a third of their stack in. There's no way that small blind range can be correct. There's absolutely no way. All right, so let's start with the steal here. Thank you, Syntax. Speaking of, wait, no, one sec. Speaking of, wait, no. Speaking of,
Lost another flip. I'm not quit. 15 times in a row, I'm so sick. Lost another flip. I'm not quit. 15 times in a row, I'm so sick.
the min 3-bets. All right, Lisi, good luck here, bruv. Good luck, mate. Good luck, mate. Yeah, we're going for max. Wish me luck, guys. No! Oh, my good Lord. Okay, here's another good example. Here's another perfect example of what we were just discussing 2 seconds ago. Why have I lost my controls? What the fuck's going on here? All right, so this is another great example, right? This guy has played ace-jack in a very weird way, right? And we've trapped him perfectly, right? He gets lucky, he hits a jack, whatever. That's fine. But now he arrives on a river, right? He arrives on a river where he has 6.5 big blinds behind in a 10 big blind pot and still chooses to bet 2 big blinds. If you play these hands in this fashion, right? It turns out we have aces, right? And he's getting max against aces. Fine. If you play your hand in this fashion, you are never winning enough when you're getting lucky. You're never winning enough chips. He gets max because we have aces. Probably gets max if we have kings as well, right? In the event that we have a9 or we have ace high or we have 5-6 or something like that that's just trying to get to showdown and like we think it's good on the paired board, you're never winning enough in these spots. You got to go for max. Nice hand anyway, ace jack. Well done.
Why is poker so fucking
hard? Deserve for not leaving the turn. Two pair on the turn. Jack 9 is a problem, potentially. King Queen, probably unlikely. Ace Jack, probably very unlikely. We can get value from Queen 8 and 8-10 and King 5 off and, sorry, King 5 suited and King 6 suited, all that good stuff. Not that it would have made a big difference. Yeah, it is funny, isn't it, Zintex? It's a spot where I'm happy to give him a little donation. That's fine. We're not folding yet. We're not folding yet. I think if he min-clicked pre-flop, then he would have called all in for 10 big blinds. I think he would have done as well, mate. Yeah. I think ultimately it doesn't matter how we play this hand. Should have just folded pre. That would have been the pro move. All right, 9-10 suited. Absolute monstrous hand. Truly monstrous combination. Yeah, we're not folding yet. We're not folding yet. All right. We got somebody who enjoys the old donk lead. My guy likes a donk lead. Big fan of the donk lead plays. Let's see if we can find a move here. Wow, now we're full pot donk leading. Okay. Suppose technically it's not a donk if there's if the limps pot, but you know what I mean. Okay. All right, can we mess it? How are we going to mess this one up, guys? Where's the donk lead here? Donk lead. Oh, what? If they're not donk leading, do we find a check? And again? If they bet one, we're raising. Okay. Interesting. Um. All right, we gotta get a note going here. Donk champ. That's not an insult. I'm making reference to the leading, okay? I'm making reference to the very frequent leading of pots, which we can exploit, because if you donk this much, you will be hemorrhaging chips in the extreme. This is what we call domination. Domination. Let's go. So it would appear that our opponent likes to lead when they have weak, medium, strong showdown. And also, they like to lead on boards that they perceive to be high cards where they think we're just going to give up. If we see this pattern happening too often, all you got to do is find a couple more floats, find a couple little clickers on the flop. You'd be surprised how quickly they crumble, and it works. It's going to work for a little bit, and then when it stops working, you're just going to be bleeding chips out and playing big pots from out of position, which is nightmare territory. Yeah, the aces ace jack spot is so funny. When he min three bets, right? We're crushing kings, we're crushing queens. He's obviously not going to play ace king and ace queen like that, but it's so hard for him to have exactly any hand that like interacts with the jack, right? Unless he has quads, which is just kind of not really that realistic anyway. So like literally the only hand that makes sense is maybe like ace jack. I guess jack 10 is probably a more believable combo anyway, right? But when the board runs out like that, we have like the eternal nuts, like so hard. When there's a min three bet pre-flop and then the board runs out like that, the fact that they have a jack is just comical. It's hard for him to have ace jack when you got two aces, right? Ace 10 is the nuts. What's up, Todor? This is Todor, friend of stream. Actually, should be the right tag here. We always send a little throwable or two. Todor is out here grinding spins very often. Frequent grinder. 'Cause 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 Oh, pocket kings. Monstro. Not sniping. That's okay. You can snipe if you want, mate. We are protected. The sniping is protected from. It would be, I think, if you were trying to snipe, it would be pretty obvious. The delay is extreme to try and get to real time. No action from the Kings, huh? Todor. Against Reg, this is probably pretty close. Yeah, okay. We're going to run this one. Wish me luck, guys. Yeah, that's unlucky on the river, but good call in the end. Again, Reg v Reg, it's usually good enough just to know that we're going to call Nash there or close to it or maybe a little bit tighter. However, there are certain regs who definitely have adjusted pushing ranges there. There he is. Friend of stream and proud member of Team 651. There he is. Good to see you, buddy. Skandinar. All right. We got a little note on old Skandinar. Yeah, we're going to raise this one as a bluff. And we are about to launch on this board. With the 10 in our hand as well, even more ammunition to blast off. Ace-King of the suited variety goes for the min raise. Todor. Oh. Yeah, exactly, Zintex. You can play the delay. Skandinar. No, we're not going to play this hand. Skandinar. You want to see the note, Todor? Here you go. Check this out. Oh, question marks. Take that, buddy. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if your ego will ever recover from that scathing note that you've just revealed. You know what? You know what, buddy? Just in honor of our friendship, of our digital friendship, I'm gonna promote you to full reg. I'm gonna promote you to official full-time reg. Time to adjust. Perfect. Good old Skandinar. Come on, the 2x multiplier. Let's hurry this shit up. Let's go. Skandinar. It says huge puncher. He was already in yellow before. He's in orange now because he's friend of the stream official. Oh, this is probably going to be good enough. Yeah, we don't want to miss this. Yeah, okay, let's run it. Skandanar actually wakes up with pocket eights miraculously, but we do have the additional dead money of the pot, right? So he's all in for two something big because this is one big blind. Even with the fact that we're dominated by the eights, there's still so much additional dead money in relation to the all in. Because there's an extra one big blind dead in the big blind that folds there, which is pretty massive for us in our pot odds, right? Skandanar. Yeah. Queen 6 is 100% jam here. Wakes up with ace 8. Too bad about that. 6! 6! GG. Two regs. There's Zhao. The official Zhao Zera. Ugh, woof. Min raise folding. Absolutely hate it. Ah. Johnny. 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 No! Not what you're looking for there, guys. It's not what you're looking for. Can't miss. Oh, man. Oh, man. Wednesday afternoon. Two regs every game. No good. Not what we're after to finish this segment strong. King and a queen, baby. 10. 10. Nice. Running into aces is no fun. Two unknowns, though. All right, unknown player. We're going to attack the limp. Nice. Yeah, Tyrell, it is. Very close. Very close indeed. All right. Can we win on the river here? I think checking is better. There we go. Try and catch a little bluff once in a while. Turns up here with, oh, we got a couple notes there, guys. So the player that limped had ace-3 of hearts. That's really important to note. Start that hand again. So 15 limp button multi-way, 15 effective was ace-3 suited. The other hand was just a pair. That was fair, I think. Definitely not worried about that one. Just got to push this one. Running into ace-queen. Still a push no matter what. Doesn't matter. You better ask him what to do with 7-5 off. Oh, Tyrell, you missed it. That's an inside joke. Yeah, it was. This guy came to stream to tell me about how this one time I limped with 7-5 off in the small blind, and about how like if you're a reg, why would you do that? And and then literally gave me the date 9 months ago to look it up. It's hilarious. Yeah, let's just play this as the push for 30. We can come back from here, guys. He wakes up with ace-queen. He got lucky. Guy wakes up with a monster. Oh, it's a pretty hard one to brick. Hey, there we go. That's a fair push, though. The 6-7 push is definitely good. It's definitely a good move, I think. All right, 9-5. Let's put this in the limp category. We'll bet the king-queen deuce. Ooh, the speed with which he calls there. That's very, very, very quick. That leads me to believe he has a deuce or a club. So now I'm tempted to do one of these. Yeah. Queen 4 of hearts. We can push this profitably in the 3x multiplier. Let's just go for it. See if he can wake up with another monster. 5. 5. Yeah, unlucky running into the top of the range again. We don't lose any EV there, really. It's still a 60-40, so not the end of the world, but we can rest easy knowing that the pots we lost against this guy were the ones where we just ran into the top of the range. All the fun ones were by pure skill. Pure, unadulterated poker skill. Ocho. All right, comeback is real again. Yeah, Tyrell, it was pretty ridiculous, mate. So it was two guys, and to be fair, the guy I played the hand against was being pretty respectful, but the other guy must have been his friend or something. Was like, he's like, Nick, do you think a player that limps in the small blind should be called a reg? Really? Do you think that? And I was like, I don't know what. No, I'm like, that probably isn't a limp. And then the other guy was like, yeah, Nick, January 22nd at 9 p.m. You limp the button with 7-5 off, and it was really confusing. And I was like, what are we talking about? Definitely a misclick that has been weighing on people's minds. Yeah, a little free flopper. Oh. Nice. Thank you very much for the follow, by the way. That was Tamar. Appreciate you, dude. Queen 5 suited GTO is a push for 10. I believe you can add Queen 4 suited as well. Yeah. All good. I think I probably put it into the shove category. Um, I think I probably put it into the shove category anyway, but it was. I usually put that into the shove category anyway, but um, against that player, there is an argument we can just play it cool. They weren't showing necessarily signs of like extreme passivity. All right, let's have a little bet on the turn. Please have a 6. Please have a tray. Please have a 6. Please have a tray. Would they turn a 6 or a tray into a bluff? Potentially. They could turn a straight draw into a bluff. Nice. They had a queen and they had a spade. What a life. Shower says that guy didn't sleep ever since the 7-5 off limp. I mean, seriously, like I really want to understand what the I want to understand why it became such a massive hot topic. And like I said, the guy who I actually played the pot against was actually like more chill. And he's like, "Oh, I'm not trying to make a big deal of it. Like my friend's banging on about it or whatever, but like, this is the hand and like this is what happened." And then was basically like, I think he bluffed and I like trapped him. Like I managed to actually make a big hand with a 7-5. And then he was like, "Can you just tell me though, like if you didn't misclick this hand, then like, isn't this limp always like 100% aces?" And I'm like, "Well, no." And it's like another like good reg as well. So I was a bit confused as to why they think I would be so unbalanced in that spot. But yeah, it was obviously haunting them for some time. They're not having a good time with that spot apparently. All right, we take flips.
Lost another flip. I might quit 15 times in a row. I'm so sick. Lost another flip. I might quit 15 times in a row. I'm so sick.
Nice hand, ace-9. Undersea Monkey says, if it was confusing, that seems like a good thing, not going to lie. If I can confuse my opponents, I figure I'm doing something right. Yeah, like because it was such an outlier spot that like I would never play that way. It was so clearly a misclick. Like I obviously entered the pot on accident, thinking we were deeper, and then we've played the hand out, and I like made a boat against his hand, and he bluffed, and I snapped him off. Like I trap checked the river in this really short stack pot and managed to catch a bluff for the whole stack, but like a very small stack. And yeah, it's obviously been weighing on their minds, which is kind of funny. Queen! Queen! Oh, don't fold. Let's go. Okay, yep, fair play. Ocho, no good. We do want to have a note on this one though. This is particularly interesting. So the reason we're putting the money in here anyway, guys, is we have 2.5 big blinds. So like we're just not folding any two cards. Doesn't matter. What is interesting though is this guy is min raising off of an extremely short effective stack depth, right? So this is something we really, really want to note. So min raise queens versus 2 ultra small multi-way. Let's do this. Min raise, button, multi-way. Let's call it 4. It was even less, like 4 effective was queen, queen. So this is super, super, super good to note because in future, this player will consider min raising at extreme short stack depths to be like trappy or like, I'm like luring him in. So if we're heads up and we're like 6 big blinds effective and we're facing a min raise, we can assume this player is going to end up being much stronger than average. And then probably what they'll end up doing is being very push fold with the medium hands and then being min raisy with the strong ones. So even though this pot doesn't matter, we're not noting because like the 9-6 for 2.5 bigs is like important. We're noting because that same pattern will show up in other spots too, right? It's the same player that will like min 3-bet aces, or they'll like turn the nuts and min check raise and stuff like that. We can give them a lot of credit for strength in those spots. Undersea Monk says, at least if you ever need a place to crash, you can live rent free in their head. Apparently, I've been living rent free, and I didn't even know. I didn't even know I was on the books. All right. Let's try and win a spin today, shall we? We won a 25x multiplier earlier, guys, but the rest of the day has been pretty bummer so far. We're now at 4,369 games. And we're still getting trashed in the dollar department. Still profitable, still very, very, very marginally profitable. We are still very marginally profitable. Ace is any good. So yeah, I mean, technically, if we want to be balanced, this is going to be a shove against the reg. We're gonna sneak in a flat check raise here. They bet big on this board as well. Right. Yeah. Wish me luck, guys. 88.6%. Nay bad, nay bad. Nay bad, nay bad. Hey, Stan, how you doing, buddy? Welcome. Flop Z. Did somebody mention Flop Z earlier? We managed to hit a pair of 5s on the turn. We're not folding yet. So our opponents will have missed flush draws. They will have missed straight draws as well, which they will turn into bluffs quite often. I think we can just call. That's an unlucky river, guys. We nailed it. We nailed the read. He did manage to make a top pair with a random, with his other card randomly, which is annoying, but he's going to do the same thing if he has Jack 4 or, whatever. That hasn't improved. And this is a pretty good board for us to barrel. ISO not all in here. 2.5 bigs is our size at the stack depth. This is a very annoying flop. We'll see how we get on though. Okay. All right, guys, we're going to do this. We're calling a shove if we need to. Sorry, guys. All right, on the flop, we do this. Oh, the check jam! Oh, the check jammeroo gets a fold, is massive, in the lead now. We're calling a shove here if we need to. Flop Z, we're shoving versus the limp. And now, can we put this guy down? Can we end this game? Ace 10 of clubs might as well be the nuts. Hey, Thomas, welcome, buddy. The birthday boy. The birthday boy, one day belated, is here. All right, we're going to bet 1.9 on the turn. We get a walk with kings. That's not ideal. I'd say most of the time we're trying not to get a walk with kings. We're doing okay, Tom. It's not been particularly bad, but not particularly good. Before stream today, we won a 25x multi, and we've pretty much just been bumming our profit away like a bum. We tried to put him in the ground, got lucky. We're gonna try to end this game. Gonna try and win. No. This guy's a reg as well. We can't even mess around too much here at these shallower stack depths. Just gotta follow the rules. For example, follow the rules. Win with ace 5. Follow the rules. All in twice with the best hand for the win. In fact, was it 3 times? Always bring the weather with you everywhere you go. Always bring the weather. Well, that was a good game for us anyway. Played that one well. We just need to not lose with the best hands. Ooh, the snap call on the flop. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I think they have a missed flush draw. Or I was right. It's not the flush draw I was thinking of, but it was a missed flush draw. Okay, we want to note here. Okay, cool. Yep, that's fine. This is a push. The notes are so helpful in spots like this, guys. Honestly, it's crazy how beneficial that is for us to know that he's limping random cards and playing random cards. Getting it in with ochos is very fair, though. Queen! I'll take an ace. It's fine, too. All right, we're heads up for the 20 bucks. Minutes. Don't know this guy, so we're going to play it pretty cagey. Delayed c-bet this board. Nice. I know, Tyrell. Less than 6 big blinds. Can we win with the best hand? Much better. All right, OAP. Catch you next time, buddy. By the way, guys, I keep forgetting to put this on. I just want a little bit of background music. There we go. I keep turning it off for different streams and forgetting it's not on. Todor says you should get a coaching session on how to win flips. I've been thinking about it, mate. I've been thinking about it. But I can't afford it until I start winning flips. I'm stuck in a vicious cycle, Todor. I'm stuck. I suck and I'm stuck in a very vicious cycle. I would love to get some coaching on how to win flips, but I can't get the coaching until I win a flip.
Lost another flip. I might quit 15 times in a row. I'm so sick. Lost another flip. I might quit 15 times in a row. I'm so sick.
Queen and a Jable. Queen with a Jable. Can't do it. All right, guys. Probably like 1 or 2 more games, and then we'll do a quick review. I've only got a couple hands marked for review, and we'll wrap for today. Sorry for the earlier start time, earlier finish, but I got things I got to do. Oh, this one's going to be really close. Doesn't feel quite right. Could be wrong. Doesn't feel quite right. Good fold. We're not quite desperate enough to call there yet, I don't think. Gabriel! Trapping kings like a boss? Gabriel! Trapping kings like a boss. Trapping kings like a boss. I'm in a cursed circle. Gabriel! 37% is absolute mountains. You guys know that, right? No.
Lost another flip. I might quit 15 times in a row. I'm so sick. Lost another flip. I might quit 15 times in a row. I'm so sick.
I'm gonna make some more AI music, guys. I enjoy that. I made some more for a new project I've started that you guys will hopefully see soon. But there's a good one. I'm gonna make some more. I've got very complaining music right now because that was what was happening at the time. I'm gonna make some celebration music as well for the good times. What? What is this? What is this size, bruv? What is the size you're looking at, fam? All right, let's just run this one. Winning flips is easy. Nice. Domination! Domination! Nice answer. All right. Spade. Nice. Getting lucky feels good. All right. We managed to win that one. Won a couple all-ins that we were slightly behind in, which was nice. Let's play one more spin, and then we'll take a look at some hands for review. And we'll call it a day for today. Today's session, I can tell you, has been a bit flat in terms of EV, but, you know, that's not the end of the world. In fact, we're about 3,000 chips under EV, which has been problematic for us, to say the least, recently. Spinning goes have not been very kind in that department. Oh my God, we have too many backdoors to fold. Speaking of backdoors, I mean, we're calling on the turn. We're actually beating quite a lot here, guys. 7, 8, 8, 9. Diamond draws that are less than queen high. So check on the river makes a lot of sense. I mean, you know, 8, 8, 7 would be really annoying. Do we turn our hand to a bluff? Probably not. All right. Unlucky. So on the turn, guys, we're calling not only with what is potentially going to be the best hand quite often, but also 2 overcards to a 6 and a flush draw. That's how good that hand was. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. About 30% going to the river, assuming that we don't have like a very clear bluff as well, which we obviously could have done. My biggest issue with that spot, though, is like if he has 8-7, we probably don't get the bluff. We probably don't catch the get the bluff, the fold. Excuse me. If he has 8-9, we don't get the fold as much as we'd like. They can still have trapped kings as well. Sorry, 10s. Excuse me, where they bet the 10 and then they're trying to get the flush draw to bluff the river. Now, not all players will be that sophisticated, but it's part of the equation. We're beating 3-4 as well. 3-4 was the bottom end of the straight draw. I just don't think we need to bluff, really. I just don't think it makes any sense. We will have other combinations that we float with there that we do end up bluffing, though, so we're not like under bluffing that spot. That's fine. Can we get our chips back here? Potentially. 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 A little bit of redemption there. King 8's too wide. Ace Queen suited. All right, here we go. Wish me luck, guys. Can we win a flip to finish? Oh, like that turn. Can we pick up 30 buckers to wrap things up today? $30 buckers. Ugh, 30 buckers, no good there. Heads up now. The limp there is very wide against the unknown, but we need to be a bit careful because we don't want to give away too much. I think we can probably start bluffing now. It's a good combo to use there as a bluff. We're going to call a shove if he wants to shove here. Otherwise, I'd like to play this in position as much as possible. We shan't be folding. We shan't be folding. Trying to get value from clubs and 8x and 4x on the turn. Can't call this one. And the king 6 push. Nice. 30 bucks to finish. Cool. All right, so let's take a look at our results for today, and let's take a look at some hands for review as well. So before we close up stars, I'm going to fire up the graph for today. You guys will see kind of what I'm making reference to here. Let's get this refreshed. Thank you very much for the follows. That was... Oh, I've closed it now. Thank you for the follow, whoever you are. So yeah, as you can see here, today in general has been a kind of a relatively flat EV day. Not a lot of like big EV moments. We ended up about 1,000 chips under EV overall. Not much to really talk about today. Today's session, today's overall, we managed to win $40. And that is only because of the large multiplier that I hit earlier today. I hit a 25x multiplier, won that. But overall, I would say today's been just kind of a non-day. If we filter since the start of the challenge, guys, you can see that we are making good progress towards the overall total. Today was a little bit more flat than we would have liked, but we're still miles below EV here, guys. This is still a major bummer. And until the EV starts to play ball with us here a little bit, it's going to be really, really difficult to make the... It's going to be difficult to hit our dollar target when we're running so far below EV and chips. 14,000. It's actually more like 40 buy-ins under EV. It's more than 40 buy-ins or so, depending on how you calculate that. So, you know, we're doing a lot right. We just need to keep the faith and keep grinding. Our current chip EV is actually much higher than 16. If we take away the, if we filter for the most recent dates, that's since the 9th month. 10, 11, so that's the last, I'll just show you. This is the last 3,000 games, basically. So this is, I would say, a more accurate representation of our overall skill at the moment, 19 chips per game. In fact, I think we could get above 20 potentially. We're doing a lot right. We've improved a lot in the short time that we've been playing the new format. And this is much closer to our true EV, in my opinion, and I think I know that's pretty much true at this point. Just got to keep grinding. Matt Wolf is asking what the HUD is. So this tracker, is hand to note, which can also generate a HUD. However, I tend not to play with HUD. I just use it to study my hands and stuff afterwards. So this program here is hand to note, H2N. All right, so hands for review. Let's look at marked hands. So I'm going to close up PokerStars. Again, just to be crystal clear, PokerStars is now closed. If we make reference to any charts or any additional study material, it is done offline, okay? So really quick, a couple spots to take a look at the button fold. So we button fold at, let's call it 14 effective, something like that. Again, the 6-7 suited here is just such a magic hand, right? But as we get shallower, we need to be very careful with our frequencies. My anticipation is that 6-7 suited is a fold, and then 8-7 suited is almost 100% play. 6-7 suited might sneak in there like at 10% or something like that. And this is something we can disregard if we're playing against unknowns. In this particular spot, we know both these guys are good players. If we were playing against two unknown players who are not going to 3-bet shove correctly, and they're going to overcall from the blinds, 6-7 suited goes up in like majorly better, okay? So if we fire up the Nick Walsh TV chart pack, this is the pre-flop chart pack that I work from when I'm offline. And it's also just an easier reference tool if you're trying to study the way things change between. These are available on my website if you want to take a look. Images, three-way on the button at 15 big blinds effective. And you guys can see, like I said, almost dead on the money. Is that 20%, do you think? 6-7 suited is only opened about 20% of the time or so, and then 8-7 suited 100%. So if we're playing against regs, this is actually more important than you might think because a lot of regs will be good at their 3-bet jamming. If we are min-raise folding too much from the button three ways, we are going to be torching money, torching EV. We need to have a strategy that allows us to enter the pot with hands that have enough equity while also doing it in a balanced fashion where we're going to get value from our big hands as well. So it's not good enough just to be tight from the button. We have to know at this range very well, and we need to understand that 6-7 suited against two regs is not going to perform very well. So that was spot on. Good fold there from the button. This is an interesting one. We'll actually have to take post-flop. So we'll open up GTO Wiz in a sec to take a look at this. So this was the argument that I had, and I think I'm right in saying this, but we'll double check because that's why we do the study sessions. I ISO big with Queen 10 offsuit at 9 big blinds effective. My opponent decides to shove queens. This is not a criticism of shoving queens. I think shoving queens is going to be fine, but I think we're supposed to be flatting with queens, kings, and aces in this particular setup versus the large ISO. Against the small ISO, we'll take a look at what you do there as well. But that's my anticipation. Let's see if my brain has memorized this correctly, because it doesn't look like it's important, but you'd be surprised. If players are using the dynamic ISO size correctly, they will large ISO fold a portion of their range that you absolutely crush. And that will make a big difference. If we're not calling with some super strong stuff here, then all of our calls at this stack depth become broken. So let's take a look at GTO Wiz, and we can take a look at the pre-flop here properly. So in fact, we could look at this in both. Let's see if the Nick Walsh TV chart pack agrees. So we're looking at images, we're looking at heads up advanced. The advanced chart pack is the one with the dynamic ISO sizes. And we're taking a look at small blind reaction to big blind ISO. So this is, we're in the small blind, we're facing an ISO non all in at, let's call this 9 effective. Let's call it 9. 9 is close enough. And we're facing a large 3.5x ISO. So the size is correct here. And you can see kings, queens, jacks, tens all want to call versus the large ISO. Aces does call as a sliver as well. But actually what's interesting here, the reason why it's playing aces differently is because as soon as we have aces in our range in this situation, right? As soon as we have aces in position, there is a considerable amount of the other stuff that is going to be the ISO call. I would argue we could probably just sneak aces in here 100% just because most people will play poorly out of position in general. However, you can see what we're supposed to be calling here versus the large ISO, right? Now, I would not recommend calling as wide as this range suggests. I am going to compare this to GTO Wiz as well, just for the sake of posterity, but it probably also has a slightly differentiated ISO size here as well, because I know that some of the sizes in GTO Wiz are larger than I would suggest. Anyway, let's take a look at the heads up. We're looking at 9 big blinds effective, and there's a call and the ISO size. Nope, they agree. 3.5 ISO, and this is the reaction. So yeah, pretty much the same. What I would say is there are some items in here. There are some items here that they would have played as a pre-flop jam that we are actually including as some calls. That's just a frequency thing, but you can see here that they tend to agree. So jacks, queens, kings are going to be flatted more often. They actually want you to flat aces slightly more often as well here, which I tend to sort of agree with. But overall, you guys get the idea. We are correct in saying that we do want to actually be flatting these combinations versus the large ISO rather than playing it as a pure jam. Is it going to make that big of a difference? Against unknowns? No, because nobody is going to ISO fold like this, right? If it's a random player, nobody ISOs big and folds for half their stack. If you're playing against good players, they will ISO the bottom of their range. So if I actually open up this one again here, guys, let's take a look at the hands we're supposed to be raising big. Good players will ISO these hands at a fair 7 deuce off. 50% of the time, 7 deuce off ISO is more. It's more than that. It's more than that. 63.5% of the time, 7 deuce off is going to be raised big. 8-3 off is going to be raised 40% of the time. These combinations do not exist in regular people's ranges. In good players' ranges, they do, and you'd be surprised how devastating this can be. If I know that you're raising big with hands like this, nice big strong hands like this, and I know that you're raising strong with big hands like this, it becomes so difficult to know how to beat you, and most people will just massively overfold at a critical stage in the tournament. And you will win way, way, way more from out of position than you did otherwise. That's why the advanced chart pack can be so brutal. A lot of people have said to me, Nick, I bought your chart pack, and I bought the advanced one. I was talking to some guys, and they said, using the simplified jamming ranges is better because it's the same EV as using the large ISOs. That is true if your opponents are fucking good. If they're not good and they're not studied and they don't know how to respond to this, the same players that will tell you that a simplified shoving strategy is the same or equal to or better than the dynamic ISO strategy, those same players will not study the dynamic ISO strategy response. And for that reason, this actually wins you way more than you might imagine. But it's difficult to learn, but it's very good. 9-7 suited, 8-7 suited, 6-7 suited. These combos become big ISOs as well. But you guys can see how cool this is. And also, just for the sake of being a fucking nerd, we have confirmed that you're supposed to call here. Correct. Good. That's what we wanted to check. Sometimes we look these up and we got them wrong, and then we learn more and we get better. This is how we improve. Blind v blind, I shoved this for 9 big blinds. I just want to double check this one. This should be pretty straightforward. We can look at the chart pack here. Images, 3 ways, small blind versus big blind, 9 big blinds effective. 10-8 off, 100% push. Boom, problem solved. These ones don't require too much thought because when we're out of position blind v blind, we just want to kind of follow the rules most of the time. We don't do too much weird adjustments against unknowns. Unless, well, that's not true. We do, but in different ways. When we're this shallow and we're playing in a 2x multiplier, we're just going to bang this and it's going to make chips. So that's all we got to do. All right. So today, guys, was kind of a flat session. We have had, as I said, a parabolic upswing in terms of EV. And I really think that we're turning a corner in terms of our profitability in spin and goes. It's still hard. This game is still really hard, guys. Playing spins and stomaching these swings is very difficult, and you can see that we're still probably like 40 buy-ins or more below expectations. It's like $400 at least, right? However, what I will say is, a lot of the dollars that we probably have lost along the way have been dollars invested in actually improving and getting to the point now where I believe we are close to an 18 or 19 at least effective chip EV. Yes, we're running like shit. I would say it's very clear to me now that 5,000 games in spin and goes in the new format is probably not enough to even have a proper measure of one's overall skill level. Our sort of chip EV has been a moving target. It has improved for sure. We've become much better at playing these shallower stack depths, but we will probably have to put in a lot more volume before we get anywhere near to sort of what I could say is I'm confident that this is where we're at right now, and ideally we would always be improving. Having said that, we are still in profit overall on the challenge with rewards, which is kind of reassuring that even during what I consider to be maybe one of the longer and worse downswings that we would have experienced during the challenge, we're still not flatlining a bankroll. Like I said, this is not a bankroll challenge. And so it's not like we have, $1,000 in the account and we're really suffering for every, we're not suffering for every dollar here like we're going to send ourselves broke. But if this was a bankroll challenge, the actual rewards would have been sort of helping stabilize it to a certain degree while we stomach this ugly sort of chip EV thing. A couple comments here. Cobretti, thank you for joining us. I'm about to sign off, but thanks for joining. Wazzy, what's up? Good to see you. Returning chatter. 5-stream streak. Good to see you. Shaq Mentor says, what is Nick talking about right now? I came here for some poker-themed metal songs. I know you can have one of those. Is it? It's not even on this page. Never mind. You can get it next time. Yeah, Matt. It was actually Matt Wolf is asking, is that 100 buy-ins down? It was actually 160. We were over 100 buy-ins under chip EV, and 160 buy-ins down on the challenge. But we're sort of slowly coming back here. Just need to grind a little bit more. Limpere says, how long have you been a certified thug? I don't know. I have to ask. You'll have to ask somebody more qualified. Matt Wolf, I have regular rakeback. I have the normal PokerStars rakeback. I don't have a private deal of any kind. So I'm currently on gold chests. At the start of this challenge, we started at absolute zero. So I built it up from the smallest chest up to gold. I think we're 2 unlocks away from the next highest, which is 30%. Todor says against regs 100% versus recreational is questionable. Is 3.5x with 8-3 off raise also applicable in the 2x and 3x spin or only 15 effective stack? Feels like suicide for my graph. Zintex, the 3.5x thing with 8-3 off, that is applicable to any circumstance that is heads up at 9 big blinds effective or whatever it was. Where were we at? 9, right? That theoretically, from a GTO perspective, that is applicable at 9 big blinds effective heads up always. It doesn't matter what the multiplier is. However, in the faster multipliers, there's an argument that you do want to play generally faster because you'll have, if you end up playing a hand as an ISO and it goes long and you're up against a very poor opponent, you might make more by simply playing that hand more conventionally, getting onto the next hand and playing in position against the unknowns. Kind of like what Todor says, against regs 100%, against recreationals, it's questionable. The problem with the Rex is that they're going to limp call with the incorrect range, which does put you in some ugly spots with a very ugly range. You're going to get more folds from players who are really sweating the money. That doesn't mean that it's not still going to be really good because you're going to encounter recreationals who will massively overfold as well, which is really good for you in that spot too. Generally speaking, Zintex, against a recreational, you could probably just use the 3.5x with the good hands and completely omit the balance. Because 8-3 off is in there both as exploit and for balance, right? In order to have large ISOs with hands like ace-king off and ace-queen off, we need to do it with weaker stuff as well. Because it's such a strong and huge move, we actually get away with using the bottom of our range and the very top of our range and then some stuff for board coverage in the middle, right? But what you could literally do is just do all the stuff that you like to play from out of position, and they'll probably fuck it up anyway. So, like, the reason we do that with those combos is because we have a way to make a hand that is overwhelmingly minus EV. Like 8-3 off, if we play it as a check, we almost never win. And therefore, we basically are always losing a big blind when we have a hand like 8-3 off. If we can balance that in a way that makes it profitable by using a hand like ace-king off, it makes a hand that is almost always just insta-losing into slightly more profitable, which means our overall win rate increases quite drastically. But it's also for balance purposes as well, because if we're only doing that with ace-king off and ace-queen off, it becomes very easy to kind of know where we are in our range. Does he have 8-7 suited? Does he have ace-king? Those are the options, basically, if you can sort of simplify it. Against a recreational, you could basically just do it with the good stuff, and you'll probably make tons of chips that way too. QB, thank you for joining us. Wolf says, fair play. I find the gap between silver and gold too much. It took me some time. I'm almost 2 diamond, I think, is the next one. Yeah, and also, Matt, it's a timing thing as well. I appreciate what you're saying. Obviously I work with stars and I do a lot of travel, and there are, months where I can't play. And, I have been in a couple situations during the challenge where I've had to come home and play a lot of volume to catch up before I lost the chest. So it is tricky. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are ways for you to take breaks. Like if you step away from stars for like a holiday or like, extended time, I think you can actually pause chests. At least that used to be the case. Yeah, fair enough, Matt. And like at the 10s, you have to play a decent amount of volume to get gold. But once you're there, you should be able to maintain like one chest every 20 days or whatever it is. Todora says, I was talking about the 10 blind people. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's... I think that one's a little bit out for debate, Todora. Like, I think that shoving 10-8 at that stack depth in a smaller multiplier is probably almost always a good default. Against unknowns, there is probably an argument that we should have maybe some more non-all-in steals, and it's probably going to overperform. But then again, also 10-8 is just a hand that has so much value, so much equity. Yeah. I understand, Zintex, yeah. I think also you feel that way because, you probably haven't played as much volume. When you actually play a ton of volume and you do employ those strategies, you start to get a real feel for how effective it can be when you don't just always feel like you're running into it kind of thing. But yeah. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Love you guys. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So tomorrow will probably be the last stream of the week. It's going to be on the PokerStars channel. It's going to be a Spin and Go showdown. It's going to be Texas Tomo versus Adam McCullough. And those are almost coming to an end. There's just a couple more of those left. So if you want to join us tomorrow, 4 p.m. UK, twitch.tv/PokerStars. And we're going to be doing some more Spin and Go showdown. So I'll see you guys then. Love you all very much. See you tomorrow.